Very good evening to all our viewers. You've tuned us on Business Express and I'm Nisha Poddar. And straight to the big story this evening. The government is definitely on an overdrive, with the cabinet taking some of the crucial decisions today, just minutes ago. Let's take it one at a time. First, the good news. The government is walking the talk, with the cabinet approving the Finance Ministry's decision to not challenge the Bombay High Court's verdict on the Vodafone transfer pricing case. And in what is being seen as one of the biggest divestment drive of this fiscal, they have approved some of the big ones like Coal India. Now to the bad news that is coming in from the telecom operator side, and it is that India will not be too happy as far as telecom is concerned, because the cabinet has approved a higher reserve price for 2100 megahertz spectrum, which has been set at 3,705 crore rupees. Now, which is the recommendation by the DoT and is way above the price that was set by the telecom regulator. Let's first hear out what the telecom minister Ravi Shankar Prasad had to say about these big decisions which have been taken by the cabinet today.
After legally examined करने के बाद ये पाया गया that the High Court opinion is right, there is no charging section, and this fruitless litigation was avoidable. Today, by the cabinet taking a decision not to challenge the Supreme Court order upholding the Vodafone India Limited contention that a transaction being international is not amenable to tax. In fact, this decision gives a message to the investors. Investors' confidence has been shaken in the past because of very fluctuating tax policy, where the investors' view and the government view was completely at loggerheads. The government led by Shri Narendra Modi as Prime Minister wants to convey a clear message to the investors world over that this is a government where the decisions will be fair, transparent, and within the four corners of law. 2100 megahertz is a band very techno-savvy for data transmission, video transmission. इसलिए हमने इस बार जो रिजर्व प्राइस तय किया है, वो हमने तय किया है पर मेगाहर्ट्ज 3,705 crores.
So, a few big and important decisions that have been taken by the cabinet this evening. Let's take them one at a time. And first, let me go across to my colleague Suchetna Ray, who's joining us on the phone line from New Delhi. Suchetna, it seems like the government is taking its stand of having a non-adversarial tax regime in the country very seriously. And that relief given in the Vodafone case, though it's very contentious.
Nisha, absolutely. The government was left with no choice but to come out with some kind of clarity on transfer pricing, simply because this has been an issue on the mind of foreign investors. In fact, the delegation of CEOs that came in with US President Barack Obama also flagged up this issue, that there are still ticklish issues as far as transfer pricing is concerned, and they wanted Arun Jaitley, the finance minister, to come out with a clarification as early as possible. Now, sources in finance ministry tell us that this is a very positive move to the cabinet, laying a thread there that transfer of shares is not amenable to tax or taxing in India under the transfer pricing provisions. But we will have to wait and see whether this is a decision that is also, whether this holds true for the other cases like Shell. As of now, sources in finance ministry tell us that as far as the Shell matter is concerned, where there is also a Bombay High Court verdict which is in favor of Shell, that matter at this point in time is being perused by the Attorney General. The ministry is waiting for his views. And about the other cases, namely say HSBC or other companies, even SR, the finance ministry says that those cases will have to be taken one at a time. So definitely a very positive move, some clarity at least as far as transfer pricing is concerned, and especially transfer of shares and whether that's capital gain or not. But we'll have to wait and see whether this decision of the cabinet can be interpreted en masse as far as the other cases of transfer pricing that are stuck at various stages of litigation are concerned.
All right. Thanks, Suchetna, for getting us all those details. Remember, Suchetna Ray was the one to get you that exclusive, that this will be decided by the cabinet, and exactly that is also the decision that has come out from the cabinet. Let's delve more into this, and let me get an expert on the show to discuss more about the act and the approval that has been given by the cabinet on not going ahead with the appeal on the Vodafone case. And Mukesh Bhutani, who is a managing partner at BMR, joins us on the phone line from New Delhi. Mr. Bhutani, very good to have you on the show. Now, first question, is it unprecedented in some form that the government is letting go of its right to appeal of the Bombay High Court's verdict in the Supreme Court and is sending out a larger signal in the benefit of the foreign investors and to pacify them to come into India?
Well, I don't know whether it's unprecedented. I'm sure that there are many cases where the government decides not to appeal to the higher forum. If your question is that is unprecedented from a process standpoint, perhaps yes, because I don't know if there are any recollections I have of the government having taken a decision. I think insofar as the transfer pricing case on share issuance is concerned, the Attorney General had very clearly opined that this transaction was not exigible to tax, and hence the government doesn't have a case to appeal to the Supreme Court. Now, to me, it seems that in order to fortify that decision, this proposal of Attorney General has been placed before the Cabinet, and the Cabinet has given its stamp of approval. This is just to make sure that, the government did not Department of Revenue rather, and the Ministry of Law did not blindly follow the opinion of the Attorney General, and that it has taken the Cabinet into confidence, such that it has the Cabinet's stamp of approval. So to answer your question, yes, it sounds a little unprecedented in terms of process, but I don't think it is unprecedented in terms of government taking a decision not to appeal in a higher forum.
Mr. Bhutani, I'll come to the second question then. If you're saying that it's unprecedented or not, we'll have to see. But you're a legal expert. I brought about the precedence bit because I wanted to understand that Vodafone case done and that transfer pricing case has been put to rest. But what about the other cases like Shell, HSBC? Some of those transfer pricing cases are going on still. So will that also set a precedence for other cases, or do you think it will be on a case-to-case basis?
Well, ideally it should, because at the end of the day, Vodafone is in the queue first, and the due date for the government to file an appeal in the Supreme Court is insofar as Vodafone is concerned. I doubt if a decision is taken in principle that if the government has decided that an interpretation of the law which suggests that the transaction is not exigible to transfer pricing provisions, and a decision taken to the effect not to appeal against that cannot be applied in other cases as well. Because at the end of the day, the Vodafone decision of Bombay High Court is something that is being followed by the Bombay High Court in other cases, and now there are decisions of the tribunal as well where they have followed the Bombay High Court decision in Vodafone's case. So, if the principle of res judicata, as we say, applies in the context of other cases, I don't see any reason why the government should take a contrary view in other cases.
I asked you this question, Mr. Bhutani, because while the minister was giving that briefing and updating us with all the decisions that have been taken by the cabinet, he did not mention that the same thing would apply to other cases. He did say that wherever there is tax liability, the companies will have to pay. But on the other hand, if there is a dispute between the tax department and the company, the government will intervene and probably assuage the interests of the foreign investor. What do you make of this?
Well, I think the finance minister seems to be making a larger point, which is no different than what the new government has been saying, that as a part of the process of easing the doing business in India, they are going to look at a non-adversarial tax administration. They are going to look at tax administration which is going to treat the taxpayers as a customer. So I think it's a larger message that is being carried by the finance minister. I don't think that it is anything specific to the transfer pricing cases, but yes, it is true that these transfer pricing cases did attract a lot of negative visibility in the media at large in the world to India and to Indian tax administration. So I think the government is just trying to correct those measures because it is taken up the matter at the highest level in the cabinet, and they are saying that we will look at these cases very differently, and now with the aid of Attorney General's opinion, the decision is not to appeal.
Right, Mr. Bhutani, thanks for your expert comments on this particular subject, and as rightly pointed out by the legal expert, that it is a larger message that has been sent out by the government. They have been making plans and making many efforts as far as the Modi government is concerned on assuaging the interests of the foreign investors, also allaying fears when it comes to tax uncertainties and regulatory uncertainties about India. And this is a strong signal which has been sent out by the cabinet approval of not going ahead on that appeal when it comes to Vodafone's transfer pricing case. So that is an important bit that has been dealt with. And another important aspect that has been decided upon by the cabinet is on the upcoming spectrum auctions in the telecom space. And cabinet has today decided on the reserve price for 3G auctions, and the price is at 3,705 crore rupees per megahertz is the reserve price for 2100 megahertz, which is the 3G spectrum auction. Now remember, this is the same price which was recommended by the Department of Telecom earlier, and it is the base price. Now remember also that it is 36% higher than what TRAI, the telecom regulator, had earlier recommended. It is also higher than what the last reserve price in the auctions in 2010 was set at, and it is supposed to be inflation adjusted, as the government has been putting it. And remember that 5 megahertz 3G spectrum auction is adequate, is what the government had to say, because there was a lot of hue and cry from the telecom industry that there is an artificial scarcity that has been infused in these auctions, so that the auction prices are higher and the companies are more aggressive in their bids because there is a smaller amount of spectrum which has been put under the hammer. So to that, the government is saying that as and when the opportunity arises, there would be more spectrum auctions. Remember, the government needs that revenue and would be garnering at least 80,000 crore rupees from the entire auction of those spectrums. And remember that the date has also been deferred by a week. So the auction will be on March 4th. So this is that important bit, and let's also hear out an important industry voice on this pricing of reserve price as far as the 3G spectrum prices go. And understandably, the telecom industry is not too happy with the cabinet's decision on higher prices.
Unique in the world. There's not a whole many locations globally where spectrum is taken back, rebid and sort of issued, where the business continuity principle is at risk. In most parts of the world, you get to keep the spectrum, and yes, there may be adjustments for market, but you continue the business with the spectrum. So this is pretty unique. So all told, quite disappointing for the industry, which I think ultimately is going to translate to a delay, if you will, in terms of the rollout.
Now, another important decision by the cabinet today has been the nod for more fundraising at HDFC Bank. In fact, they had put in a request to raise about 10,000 crore rupees, and that has been approved by the government today. Ruchi Bhatia joins us on the phone line with more details. Ruchi, what are the details here? Of course, HDFC Bank's 10,000 crore rupees issuance is going to infuse a lot of activity in the markets.
Absolutely right, Nisha. It's a huge shot in the arm for HDFC Bank, as the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has approved the FDI proposal to raise 10,000 crore rupees via the issue, giving India the most valuable bank by market cap finally an opportunity to enhance its capital base. Remember, HDFC has been wanting to raise capital for a very long time. In fact, in the month of November last year, they had approached FIPB to raise foreign holding to 74% from 49%, which although was approved, but the DIPP, which is the nodal ministry for making the FDI policy in the country, they had stated that which is the parent company in HDFC Bank, their 22.5% stake in the bank was foreign investment, leaving very little headroom for HDFC Bank to raise any more foreign
investments, and that is why again in the month of December, HDFC Bank had once again come knocking to the doors of FIPB to yet again raise 10,000 crore rupees, which was the issue that was taken up in the cabinet today. Experts say this has removed a lot of uncertainty on the stock. It has been a major the clarity of this issue had been a major overhang on the stock, but today's decision is seen as a huge step, as this finally be able to tap on the opportunity to boost credit growth at a time when the economy is looking to recover.
All right. Thanks, Ruchi, for all those details. Of course, that stock will be in focus, and also Lupin stock, because Cabinet has also approved Lupin's proposal to hike the FII investment to 49%. So those two stocks would be in focus come tomorrow morning. So that's